Hi guys, welcome along to the post-show from Nottingham Forest 3, Reading 2. This was recorded live on YouTube just minutes after the final whistle. Unfortunately, I was a lone ranger for this one. Nobody else available, unfortunately, from the Tilehurst End team. Everyone else having a range of other engagements than me, whether they were actually at the ground themselves or elsewhere. So unfortunately, it's left with just me for this show. But we did have a few comments going along as well, so thanks very much for the interaction. Hopefully we'll keep doing these for the rest of the season and beyond. So, as I said, I'll delve into it just after I've got through all the introductions and bits and pieces and all the technical mumbo-jumbo like that. So, hope you enjoy the show. We'll be along with a Tilehurst End podcast on Tuesday, so please get your feedback in via all of the communication media that you can see over there. There they are. I think popping up in that little corner there. That's how you get in touch with the show. So please do get your thoughts in. We'll have more time to digest it, and I will be in this studio with Westy and Johnny, hopefully, barring any late changes on Tuesday. So keep an eye out onto your podcast feed for that. In the meantime, as mentioned, here is that post-game show. Did anything go right today? I mean, we saw Reading go 3-0 down again, and that coming so soon after that 7-1 thumping at Norwich as well. To suddenly go away again and see so many goals go in, 10 in 3 games, or 11 if you include the Villa game now, just not good enough. In terms of selection-wise, I mean, there's not a lot you could really say. Stan went with 3 at the back to start the game and is very quickly getting overwhelmed. He made the change too late, as it turns out. Reading going a goal down. Britt Assombalonga, we all know he's a dangerous player, but ultimately getting 2 goals on the score sheet is a fantastic effort for him. He's a £7 million man. He's had a lot of injury struggles over the years, but he's clearly still got that quality. Going forward, not much to say. We can see the 3rd goal in the end through a throw-in. And it was just one of these games where Reading, it wasn't that they weren't trying. This wasn't like Norwich where you sat there and went, this is a team that clearly disinterested, they're on the beach. No, they were very clearly trying, but Forest wanted this more. They really, really needed to get this win, to drag themselves clear of relegation problems. And for Reading, they just couldn't quite match that intensity. The very fact that we were, with 3 points, the magic number, they use the term magic number in American sports, which is, the combination of what points you need to get and your opposition need to drop to get to whatever your target is, be it playoffs or whatever. And in our case, it is playoffs. The magic number's 3. So Reading in the back of their heads are already known that if they get 1 win from their final 3 games, they were going to be there. Or if Fulham, Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds dropped those 3 points, then that was going to be enough either. So you could say that the incentive wasn't massively there to go gung-ho for this one. I suppose if you looked at those final 3 fixtures for Reading, Forest away, Wigan at home, Burton away, you would probably say this is the hardest one left on paper. But that doesn't really excuse the sort of performance we saw in the end. I mean, you can see the stats in the top corner. We're outshot despite having more possession. Just not really at the ball game. And thanks to those of you who are joining in. Time for Trevenant says, I'd have started Mendes, but fair play to Kermit for getting the 2 goals and trying to fight back. Morgan Carter says, he doesn't know how to set up away from home. And Time for Trevenant says, should have brought him on earlier. Presumably Mendes. But and only Rotherham have conceded more away from home. That is a key stat here. Reading now conceding 46 goals away from home this season. A horrific total, really, when you consider the fact we've only played 22 on the road. It means we're leaking 2, an average of 2 away from home. And you're not going to win many games conceding 2 away from home every game. And it's a credit to Reading for the very fact they have got so many wins anyway for it. But as you mentioned, a good fight back in the end after we go 3-0 down. Jan Kermit pops up with a couple of goals. Now it takes him to 16 for the season. That is a not too shabby a total at all. In fact, you have to go back to Shane Long in the 2010-11 season to find a Reading striker who scored more in a league campaign. Shane got 21 goals that season. So we're talking about the most goals for a striker for the last 6 years, and for a man who a lot of people had written off in the sort of weeks and months after he initially signed. It's a fantastic return for him. The good news for Reading, if there is good news to come out of this whole weekend, is the fact that Leeds have unfortunately, suffered a slip-up. I'm sure Reading fans everywhere will be gutted to hear this. Let's take a look at the results from today. As you can see, they've lost at Burton. Now, on the one hand, it's very tempting just to sit there and laugh at Leeds. we've had plenty of stick from them on social media this year, but let's not forget where we're going on the last day of the season, and that is away to Burton. So anyone thinking that Reading are 100% home and hosed right now, just hold your horses. I would say with a 99% certainty that we will be in that top 6 come 2 weeks' time. But Burton are going to be no pushovers either, and Wigan themselves aren't going to be a pushover either. It's going to be a tough challenge. We still got to get 1 point to be there. We've still got challenges to go, and Leeds have got absolutely nothing to lose now. Now, Wigan, admittedly, are going to be all but relegated. They could be relegated by the time we play them. If Birmingham win or get any sort of result, that will send Wigan down. So we do have that in our favour. But results elsewhere not going our way. Sheffield Wednesday coming from behind to beat Derby, and Fulham. Wow, I think it's safe to say we all want to avoid Fulham in the playoffs. They have beaten Huddersfield 4-1 today after being behind after 5 minutes. A staggering comeback. And they're almost the opposite of Reading. They are just seemingly unstoppable on the road. They are picking up win after win over the last few weeks. You think of their win at Newcastle, they won at Norwich, winning at Huddersfield. And they very well could have beaten Reading in a game that was fogged off, if you remember as well. So that is a team you definitely don't want to get in the playoffs. And speaking of which, today's results has only made it more cloudy, the picture for who will play who in the playoffs, because at the moment it is anybody's game, especially when you take into account goal difference as well. Reading at the moment still third in the table. We've got, we're a point ahead of Sheffield Wednesday and Huddersfield, both of whom have a superior goal difference, although Huddersfield not exactly much, and Fulham 3 points behind us with a superior goal difference as well. Leeds, all to do to catch us, although they will still fancy their chances. Well, I say they fancy their chances. I really wouldn't at this stage. They've got to win both games to have any sort of hope of making it. Going back to the comments, Philip Fry. Are you frozen in time for a few thousand years, perhaps, Philip? No, Futurama joke, possibly going over everyone's head. Anyway, apologies. He says, what starting 11 would you have picked going into the game, Wimb? I'm not sure I would have done a lot else. I thought the decision to play Popper and Grabham was an interesting one. I wasn't a massive fan of the way Roy Behrens played against Rotherham, but Popper really hasn't done very much. Now, Gareth McCleary not in the 18 for this game. He was sat in the stands with the away fans, which was nice to see. But the thing with Grabham is, I would almost have gone, I don't know what the fitness of Joseph Mendes was. We saw him come on very late, very, very late, really. I think he got about the last 10 minutes, which suggests to me he wasn't fully fit. Yaki Mate, again, not really doing too much against Rotherham either. So you can see why Stam's got a bit of a dilemma, but Popper, I think, was a slightly curious selection. Yeah, himself has clearly admitted he got it wrong because he switched from sort of a 5-3-2 to a more of a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-1-2, whatever you want to call it, as midway through the first half. So did the midfield have enough bite? Is Kelly and Swift and Williams a trio that is going to get you results away from home? Again, not entirely sure, but could George Evans have started? Maybe. Danny Williams taken off quite early as well. Very frustrated reaction from him, kicking a water bottle and slamming the top of the dugout as well. Clearly very frustrated to be taken off. He was a bit feisty in that game. I think there was a slight concern that he might well end up getting himself a couple of bookings or sent off. So you can understand maybe why he's saving him for tougher challenges. But no, otherwise the starting lineup, we're still struggling with all these injuries. We really need Paul McShane back. Yap saying in his media conference this week that he's hopeful of having him back before the end of the season. No sign of him in the squad today. You had Thiago Ilori on the bench, who again is working his way back from fitness. So you're kind of stuck with the defensive line that you've got. The midfield again, I said, other than maybe George Evans, I can't do a lot on the forward line, is inconsistent. I was touching on Lewis Grabban earlier. Him doing so well up at Villa was without Kermigan in the side. Now, is this a scenario where, funnily enough, despite all the hype when they signed of having Kermigan and Grabban playing alongside each other, is this just perhaps a case that they don't really work in this Stam system when they play from the start together? I don't know. It's certainly not something we've seen really flourish as a pairing. It was the Grabban-Mendes duo that did so well. So, again, injuries have clearly played a massive part in the team selection in this, but I suppose if you do want to take the positive, you do look at that late comeback. You do think you could have seen Reading completely capitulate, but they did get those 2 goals and they did show when they're really up against it, maybe they have got that fighting spirit. The disappointing thing is, of course, is that if we do something like that in the playoffs, it could be game over. You put in a 60 minutes like that against a Fulham at Craven Cottage, you're not going to have a chance to come back. So again, it's reignited that whole debate of where do you want to finish. I mean, I'll flash up the table again. You would have to say that you still actually fancy Reading to finish in that in third spot. I mean, Huddersfield got some tricky games to go with Reading, with playing Wigan and Burton in their final 2 games. Those are 2 very winnable games. And Reading to pick up 6 points from that. I don't see Huddersfield getting 7, and even 7 might be enough because Reading's goal difference is so similar now to Huddersfield's. So I still fancy Reading to finish third. I think that would be very good for them because I fancy Fulham to get in 4th or 5th, and I'm just desperate to avoid Fulham at this stage. Do not want to play them at all. Want to avoid them entirely. Hope someone else knocks them out in the playoffs. Hopefully one of Fulham and Sheffield Wednesday can take each other out in the semi-finals. That's for who I'd want, is Huddersfield. I really want Huddersfield. I'd love to see Huddersfield slip down into 6th and Reading finish 3rd to get that, because that would be the ideal combo as far as I'm concerned. But who do you want out there watching along? Who do you want in that playoff mix? We've had lots of questions on the Tyler's Den podcast about this, about who people would like to see Reading get. Let us know, who do you want to see in that final 4 mix? So, difficult to know what to say really other than that. It's just, I suppose you could just brush it off as one of those days. You could just say, well, they came up against a determined Forest side that really needed the points. But I think that's still letting Reading off a little bit too easy. Morgan saying we can't get Fulham. I don't know if you mean we can't physically get Fulham, or whether we just won't get through Fulham. He's clarifying saying, or it's over for us. Yeah, we saw what they can do at Craven Cottage when they played us, putting 5 past us, and they're just on an absolute roll as well. So we just don't want to even run that risk. Dean Bennett saying, you'd think the amount of times we've been thrashed away from home, he would try and sort out our defending. He seemed to try, because he did make that change. He did go to 3 centre-backs, but he's so limited with his options. With Ilori not fully fit, with McShane injured as well, really does limit what Yap can do in terms of solidifying that defence. Joey Vandenberg as well is a massive figure as well, especially in Yap's system. And so without those 3, I'm not really sure what he can do. It does happen time and time again, but short of maybe, as I said, sticking in a George Evans and Danny Williams and having them both sit, I don't think there was a lot of options for him today, so I do have some slight sympathy. And I don't think it was the way Yap picked the team that caused it. They just seem to switch off for goals. As mentioned, when a goal comes from a throw-in, it's so poor. That's just not acceptable for a team that are 3rd in the league. I don't care who's playing out there. They're all very good players in that defence. And individually, we've seen them have some fantastic performances this year. So I will give Yap some slack. I won't join in with the Boo Boys this week because I don't really see what more he could do. I think if you did have those players we've mentioned fit and available to play, then you can say, well, why didn't you go more side? Why didn't you play X, Y, or Z? But as I said, his hands are tied a bit. Hopefully we'll see those players like McShane, Ilori, Vandenberg in the mix for the last 3 games. But he's only really got now 1 away game that he's got to get right, and that is a playoff semi-final. So as awful, pretty awful as the previous 22 have gone, plus whatever happens at Burton, if he gets that 1 right, be it at Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday, Fulham or Leeds, that will be all that matters. So hopefully he's got a trick up his sleeve. Morgan wants to see Joe Vandenberg sitting in the centre as a CDM, a defensive midfielder. I agree. I think you definitely need a tough tackler in front of that defensive back line. But whether he goes with a 4 at the back or a 5 at the back again remains to be seen. We had a good debate on it over at the tylersden.com recently. So, as I said, fingers crossed, things can bounce back. It's Wigan at home. And as bad as Reading have been, every time they've had these disappointing results, they do seem to bounce back. Wigan could be down already, and if they are, you wouldn't like to think they'll be putting up too much of a fight, although we did say that against Rotherham, and we saw what happened there. But fingers crossed, they should get that point they need against Wigan, or Leeds, to ask Leeds to win their final 2 games. It's going to be tricky as well. I'll just have a quick look, see I've completely forgotten who they've got in their final 2 games of the season. I don't remember it being tremendously tricky in their final 2 games. Let's have a quick look, quick scan through the fixtures. Well, on the final day of the season, they're at Wigan, who I've just written off, so that goes well. And they're at home to Norwich next weekend as well, so a very inconsistent team as well. So, again, difficult times for Leeds to ask them to get 6 points as well, and for Reading not to get any points at all from that. Dean, you have made a good point. One, I'll put Aloria Oxford in there. Well, Oxford, again, he's not exactly covered himself in glory. He was part of that defence that got hit for 7 at Norwich as well. So I'm not necessarily sure that Oxford's the answer. It could have been an idea to put him in the midfield, perhaps. But I think if you sort of look, you say Blackett with more the sort of 2 and maybe play sort of Gunter as sort of a centre back until they switch to the 4. So I mean, there are options, but again, there's nothing that screams out on paper. This is the magic formula. He's had 22 games to get it right, and he just hasn't. I mean, you can even look at the times we've won. Villa was a very good win. I'm not going to discredit that, but the Sheffield Wednesday win was very much a backs to the wall effort. So you've got to go back quite a long way to find a Reading away performance that you can say they've absolutely nailed this and they've 100% deserved to win. As I said, aside from Villa, which I'm not writing off because that was a fantastic victory. And yes, they were all at fault for the Norwich game. I noticed that Jordan Much has been absolutely nowhere near the lineup since that game. So it does seem as if Yap shares the opinions of many of the fans that he's not up to much, as they say. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I will be back with a Tyler's Den podcast on Tuesday or Wednesday, probably Tuesday at the moment. It's looking like being myself, Westy and Johnny along, and we'll obviously talk in much more depth. I'll have time to properly digest the highlights, the stats, bits and pieces, and go into much greater depth than I can here. But again, I really appreciate the people that have taken the time to watch live. It means a lot. It means we'll keep doing them. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch. As I said, stay tuned Tuesday for that podcast. And in the meantime, just have a cracking weekend. Jump at this one behind you. And look, we're 1 point away from the playoffs. 1 point. And that's not just us. Leeds bottle it. We're there. So keep the faith, try and stay calm, and we'll speak to you on Tuesday. Oh, and obviously check out the tylersen.com because I have plenty of more opinion and analysis right over there. Adios.